Last week, I told you guys that Stacey Abrams was the story in Georgia, that she had correctly identified the state as purple, and that she was signing up voters by the hundreds of thousands. I tried to tell you all that Trump trashing fellow Republicans was a very bad idea. Georgia had gone to great lengths to make their system secure due to the perception of historic voter suppression. They're sensitive about that. I was concerned that our Georgia voters would sit out the election due to Trump's incessant claims of voter fraud in November. I pleaded with them to set their anger aside and vote for the good of their country. I got comments like these on the days leading up to the runoffs. Take a second to read them. How's this for patriotism? Well, the results are in. 2 Senate seats are gone. One that should have been a gimme, and one that was a heavy lift, but doable. Democrats will control the entire federal government, and conservatives are screwed. And for what? Every time Trump spoke out against Georgia Republicans, Democrats smelled blood in the water. Massive money poured into their coffers. And now we have another swing state where conservatives are at each other's throats, and Democrats are rubbing their hands together with glee. I wouldn't exactly call that a winning strategy, would you? There are a lot of moving parts right now, and saying anything definitive is impossible. But let me try to tell you where I stand on all of this as of today, January 7, 2021. As you know, I voted for Donald Trump in 2016. As you know, I voted for him again in 2020. And between those two elections, I probably spent more time defending him than anybody watching this video. I lost dozens of friends. I lost my girlfriend. Ironically, she's a Georgia girl herself who had gone off to college in San Francisco and grew up into a liberal woman with a kind heart and a wobbly grasp of human nature. She just couldn't handle the heat I was drawing in Los Angeles, and she bolted. So don't give me any shit about being some kind of turncoat. I guarantee that your support of Donald Trump has come at a lower cost than mine. This channel's been on the front lines of this political hellscape for pretty much the whole ride. But for 2 months, I've been carefully parsing my words because unless I affirm Trump's every claim, I lose us subscribers. Jason and I don't always see eye to eye, and this is one of those times. But the only reason we have this channel is to speak our minds honestly. So here goes nothing. I was never confident that Trump would win. I did a podcast a few weeks before the election with an extremely bright and attractive conservative. When I asked her who she thought would win, she said Trump by a landslide. She was confident. I never released that conversation, partially to save her the embarrassment of having made that prediction. On Election Day morning, Jason and I talked on video. When we made our predictions, I said that if Trump won, it would be a squeaker, no landslide coming. And I did release that. Never for 1 minute did I think Trump could win by a significant margin. The math was just not there. After the election, I didn't come on the air ranting and raving about stolen votes, and consequently, this channel lost well over 3,000 subscribers in November alone. My prediction of a super tight race had nothing to do with what pollsters were saying. I based it on 2 things: the raw numbers of voters in each party, and my gut feeling that both sides would vote in numbers greater than we've ever seen before. I was telling friends that the race was about one man. It was Trump the beloved versus Trump the hated, a single focal point for the 2 greatest motivations known to humankind: love and hate. Democrats outnumber us, always have, by 4 percentage points at the moment. But did you know that independents outnumber both Republicans and Democrats? Nobody wins the White House without drawing heavily from their ranks. In general terms, independents don't like partisan warfare. That's why they don't belong to either of the warring parties. I never saw very much hope that President Trump could draw the independent vote, because a vote for him would guarantee another 4 years of attacks from the left. And that would mean general chaos until 2024. According to Gallup's exit polls, Joe Biden won independents by 13% nationally. Here's Ballotpedia's list of the battleground states for 2020. You got that? Now here is what Edison Research found when they did statewide exit polling in these states. This is how independents voted. Do you see what I see? Remember, Biden only beat Trump by 4.5%. Going into the election, it seemed to me that if both sides were equally motivated, Biden should win just by dint of the Democrats' superior numbers. But when you factor in the independents, you don't need to explain a loss by claiming that poll workers all across America suddenly turned into secret agents working for the Biden campaign. Trump has done a lot of great things for us, but he was never going to be a two-term president. And I guess we could have expected what we're seeing now. When you invite the bull into the china shop and then poke him with a cattle prod for 4 friggin' years, he's not going to sit down for tea and biscuits. He's going to blow out the back wall, bucking and snorting. That's exactly what Trump is doing now. He's trashing the joint on the way out. I'm not sure at what point it happened, but Trump's most loyal supporters have turned into a cult of personality. By this, I mean that to them, Trump is always right. In 2017, Jason and I could discuss the president objectively. We were free to disagree with him on any given issue. But somewhere along the line, dissent became as dangerous on the right as it has long been on the left. What began as partnering with an imperfect messenger to defend our values turned into a war about the messenger himself. And don't you dare call him imperfect. The Americanism we all wanted became Trumpism. Did you sign up for that? Yeah, me neither. Of course, now we're seeing where that stuff leads. I was talking about Joe Biden with a friend the other day. He said, I could never serve Joe Biden. What is wrong with that statement? The very idea that any American votes for somebody because they expect to serve him is madness. We have all spent 4 years of our lives in a country where there has been only one story, Donald J. Trump. With the hyper-focus on one man, of course we were going to fall into primitive tribalism. Of course the 2020 election was going to be little more than a referendum about the president. None of this is healthy. None of this is in keeping with conservative principles. We hired Donald Trump to protect our borders, to rev up our economy, to drain the DC swamp, and to fight back the forces of wokeness that are eroding our very right to speak. Some of this he did magnificently, and he took on a hell of a lot of fights that I wasn't expecting. Sending NATO a wake-up call springs to mind. Changing the whole paradigm around forever wars in the Middle East springs to mind. Several things that Trump carved into the American psyche are already becoming common wisdom for people on both sides of the aisle. Nobody is asleep about China anymore. Nobody on either side of the aisle still believes that a biased press is a good thing, or that handing control of the national dialogue over to social media giants is safe for the republic. Let's be honest with ourselves. A very large part of our attraction to Trump was our eagerness to watch him kick ass on Democrats. Completely understandable given the beating we've taken from them for the last 40 years. But at a given point, a street fighter like Trump reaches the end of his effectiveness, if only because he just wears everybody out. The endless skirmishing is a distraction, and it drowns out strategy. Georgia is an example of what I mean. And for everybody except social media addicts, the battle is exhausting and depressing. Somebody asked me why the independents went for Biden. I said, that was the please God make it stop vote. And that's what I think it was. Still, I'm confident that most of Trump's key ideas will be adopted widely when the smoke clears. I'm going to wrap this up with a couple more things. Everybody knows that election rule changes and switching to universal mail-in ballots were attempts by swing state Democrats to put a thumb on the scales. But I don't buy into the claims of massive fraud at our polling places. As I've said before, I think the big cheat was how media programmed the electorate with 4 years of anti-Trump slander and propaganda. But here's where it gets diabolical. When Trump and his people questioned the results, the media intentionally gaslighted us by calling all the claims baseless and false before they were even examined. They knew that would convince us that there was fraud, and they were trying to hide it. They knew that it would cast doubt on Georgia's system leading up to the runoffs and give Ossoff and Warnock the edge. In short, they played us. Now they get to call us sore losers who don't respect the process. If this was a coup, it was a media coup. I'm not a religious man, but most of you are. Do you think that it's just possible that the great scriptwriter in the sky knows what he's doing? Do you think it's possible that the Trump presidency has simply reached its natural conclusion? The last 4 years have changed the working class forever. Will any politician going forward forget about the hardworking men and women of what used to be called flyover country? I don't think so. I think we're here to stay. And as Joe Biden drags himself through the next 2 years, a good number of principled conservative communicators will emerge and run for office. And Providence will write the next act. So take heart, ladies and gentlemen. Phase 1 of American renewal has concluded. This is where we stop doing everything through our big avatar in the red tie and start doing it ourselves. And for those of you who have not already unsubscribed this channel, I promise that we'll be here to help chart the course. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, subscribe to our channel and then click the little bell to get notifications.